Welcome to another episode of Co-Founders. This is Alex Mont-Roses, and we have Lisa Mont-Roses. Alrighty.
Still my name.
Is that still your name? Good. Very good. All right. So, wow. I mean, this thought just dawned on me when we were having lunch with, not just dawned on me. I mean, that's kind of silly. But I've been thinking about it for some time. But we kind of honed in on it when we had the company luncheon with our team around, we're about to go into a whole new decade. And of course, on social media, everybody's posting like the 10-year kind of versions of themselves 10 years ago to now. But we're going into 2020, a new decade, new things to look forward to. And, a whole new year. So today, I think we want to talk about resolutions, I guess, if those are really a thing, and do people really stay true to them? I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about that. But I read I've been listening to some interesting folks out there, podcasts and so on, about the difference between goals and systems. And I think in one of our previous episodes, we talked about James Clear and how, he defined systems and why goals are kind of setting you up to fail in some instances. And I was reading up on Scott Adams. He's a comic strip writer, and he does other things as well. But he had written something around goals are for losers. Okay, and that's pretty strong. It's
a pretty strong statement.
It's a strong statement, but so kind of let's dive into why would goals be for losers? What do goals set you up to lose at?
Well, and I think we did discuss this one time before, but I think it's when you set a goal, it's an end result you're reaching for. It doesn't help you put a plan into place, and it's something you're not. So it's, I'm here, wherever here is, that's your baseline, and I want to be here, so here's a place I'm not. Mm-hmm. So you are kind of establishing yourself as a loser when you set that goal, because it's I'm failing. I mean, it's almost a failing thing already. I want to lose 20 pounds. So you're a loser for saying you want to lose?
I don't know. I'm kidding. No.
But I think the whole point of it is that you can set a goal, but without an action plan in place, it's just a goal. It's something you're not that you want to be. Yeah. It's a thing out there. As opposed to putting an action plan in place and developing those habits to get there, and having that be an end result of actions that you're taking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. So, in simple terms, right? People right now, they're planning, right? They're goal setting for 2020. They're getting ready. They're putting all these big plans in place, and it's broken down. I like the way that Scott broke down kind of in essence the examples, right? So losing 20 pounds is a goal, but eating right is the system.
Right.
So the system carries you long term. Running a marathon is a goal, but exercising daily is the system, right? And making $1 million is a goal, but becoming, for example, a serial entrepreneur or something of that nature is something that is a system that you can put in place that allows you the ability to create something long term versus this short term. So with that in mind, how are goals effective then? Why have we been so many years? We still talk about goals. We set goals too, right? I mean, I think everybody ultimately sets goals.
Everybody does, and I actually think you need them. I mean, it's a bold statement, and it's.
But how are goals effective then?
It's a measure.
Okay.
I mean, it gives you a measure of your progress, I guess. I mean, if you lose, the easiest example is the losing weight. If you feel like you need to get healthier, you put a plan into place of eating right. The scale can help you measure your progress and help you decide, do I need to change my system? Maybe the system isn't effective. Maybe whatever you're trying to eat right, whatever that may mean for you, and everybody's a little bit different of what they need, but maybe you need to make an adjustment because you're not seeing the progress on the scale. So as opposed to that being a thing you're striving for, it's a thing that measures whether or not your system is effective.
Yeah.
That's really wise. That was really, like, that was good.
So goals are important.
Yes.
Right? But I think we, as business owners or anybody out there that's setting a goal, really needs to recalibrate and I think reprioritize the purpose of the goal, right? So if you look at the goal is really built, if you can look at it as more of milestones, then you can effectively put a goal in place. If you're looking at it as, I need to make X, well, when you make X, let's say if you put a dollar value, you know, I need to make this much money for the year, whatever it is, or for the company. Once you hit that goal, then what, right? And that's always the question. Okay, now I hit the goal, now what? Okay, you lost 20 pounds, now what? Well, now you go back to eating cheeseburgers and pizzas. Well, we don't ever stop eating cheeseburgers.
No, we don't. We don't. Our system isn't effective.
Yeah, our system's not. We actually need to look at that system.
But anyway.
But anyway, having the mindset that the goal is there to be the milestone checkpoint, you can then effectively use goals. But having the system in place, it needs to be the focus, especially going into 2020. If you're planning right now, or you started planning and you put goals, are your goals something that's dead set in concrete, says I need to hit X? If it is, then you need to probably reevaluate that and say, okay, but what's the system that's going to take me long term? So for example, you know, if you look at like business or a career, systems really build upon skills. Okay. So if you're like, okay, I want to change industries or I want to get a promotion. Okay, so that's great. But again, it's very short term, the promotion short term. What the system needs to be, this promotion here needs to equate to me having X amount of skills. Then that becomes more of a long term, something that can translate into not just the promotion, but the development over time into broader and bigger things for you in your life, right?
Right.
Same thing. I think we heard yesterday one of our team members, mention about like being a vegan or vegetarian. It was interesting, right? So that's a system, that they're now different purposes, right? Some people use that to lose weight. Some people use it to be healthier. It just depends on that's the goal. I want to be healthier, but the system is now I don't eat meat or I don't do these things. And then that becomes, going back to James Clear, the identity. Right. I am this, therefore I act this way, right? So, thoughts?
Well, I think something that's important to touch on, so goals are important. Goals are oftentimes a starting point because it gives you something to strive for, and it gives you how you're going to measure what you're doing. So let's say for a year plan, and I'll go back to, again, the weight I think is the easiest if you're going to do it. Sure. So let's say I want to lose 20 pounds in the year 2020. Okay. 2020, 20 pounds, right? We're going 2020, 20.
2020, 2020.
2020. Okay. All right.
2020. Go ahead. We're saying 2020. Go ahead.
I got it. I think we all got it.
But you don't know where that comes from, right? 2020, 2020.
It's some rapper, some show, that's some thing.
Movie.
It's something that didn't make it to Montana, I'm sure.
It was Friday.
Okay, from Friday. I did see Friday.
You did? Okay. Did that make it to Montana?
Times. It didn't make it to Montana.
Okay.
Some things didn't. They really just didn't. You mentioned stuff and I'm like, yeah, that never...
How did you not see The Outer Limits?
I don't know.
You tell me The Outer Limits never made it to Montana.
It might have, but...
You just never watched it?
I maybe just never watched it. Until yesterday, I watched it.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was good.
Okay,
so when you're setting goals... but so you say you have your goal of losing 20 pounds, right?
Yes.
So where I think people fail, or where they set themselves up for failure, is they set this goal of, okay, in 2020, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, and I know it's going through your head.
It's too much.
And I'm going to make $1 million.
Okay.
And then January 1st hits, and for the first week, they go to the gym, and then after that, and they start saving money. And then after that first week, everything dies off because they, that goal is something they can achieve by the end of the year. So they put it off, or it just becomes not a priority. So I think as you're setting goal to lose 20 pounds, how many pounds is that a month? You know, if you were going to give yourself the full year, you have 12 months to lose 20 pounds. Break it down. That's 1.86, something like that.
Yeah.
Per month. Okay, so then break that down, and what do you have to lose a week? So let's, for a good round number, you have 2 pounds a month to lose, let's say. So then you have to lose half a pound a week. So 1 pound equals 3,500 calories. So you either have to burn an extra 1,750 calories, or you have to eat 1,750 calories less every week for that entire year. Mm-hmm. That's easier to do, and you can do that, you know, and then break it down by the day. How much do you have to do per day? Then you have an achievable goal, because you have an action plan that you've already put in place. Here's what I need to lose. Here's how I need to do it. So every day I need to eat 500 calories less. And that's not the right number, but whatever it is. Sure. So it's breaking it down and actually saying, what does this mean every week if I'm going to accomplish this goal? And here's the great part about that is, let's say this week you get ahead. You lose a pound this week instead of just half a pound. Yeah. And you really are fine just losing it over the course of a year. Next week, maybe you can have dessert. Mm-hmm. Because you are ahead of the game. Or if you get behind, next week you have to you have to eat even less, or you have to work out even more. Mm-hmm. So you can measure it every single week and make adjustments every week, rather than it being the week of Christmas and you have to lose 20 pounds in 1 week.
Sure.
Which isn't possible. I've tried.
Yeah.
So I think that's the important thing when you are doing goals, is that you have to break it down and make an action plan every week to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. So. And to layer on that, I know you're talking on the fitness side, but kind of turning that back into the business. Anybody that's running a business, I would hope by now you have, if you're new to business, you're trying to figure out what you can accomplish going into a new venture. If you've already been in business, then it's looking at trends and then being realistic to what those trends are, and then saying, okay, growth looks like it's going to be X based off of what we want to accomplish. That becomes the goal. But the system still needs to override the goal, in the sense of, the second question is, okay, so what kind of company do we want to become? Why is this goal important? A lot of times we ask questions like, why is it important? Well, is it for the health of the business? Does it mean that the business won't be sustained if we don't hit that goal? Does it mean, we can't, further scale the business without hitting this amount of money, because that doesn't allow us to plow back or, reinvest into the business, whatever the case is. So, but having then the system of saying, what kind of company do we want to become? And then that starts to get more granular, right? Because then you start to understand, okay, if I want to become this kind of company, then what systems do I need to have in place that can then get me to the goal, per se, right, of maybe meeting a revenue dollar amount or whatever the case is. But it doesn't stop there, because your system now is going to keep carrying you forward to the ultimate goal of, we want to be this type of company, which is something that you always pursue, right? You're always trying to, you should be, if you want to be an amazing company or whatever the case is, you want to be the number one, and then stay at number one in whatever industry. Well, that's an ongoing thing. I love boxing, as you know, and this weekend there was a heavyweight champion. It was Joshua and Ruiz. They were doing a rematch. Joshua came in really light. He lost the heavyweight championship, lost 3 belts got knocked out 6 months ago, give or take. Ruiz came in. He was lighter, but comes in at 285 pounds, okay, out of shape. So what got to him, right, the fame, he hit his goal, was to become heavyweight champion. So he made it. It's a very interesting kind of storyline, because this has always happened in sports a lot. You make it. Now what? Well, those that want to have legacy and those that want more don't stop at making it. What he did was he partied, or he didn't, he got really kind of out of line with the fame that came with winning. And he showed up miserably and lost all 12 rounds pretty much, and lost the heavyweight titles in literally 6 months. And his comment after the fight was, well, next time I didn't train as hard and all this other stuff. Well, because that was his goal. He had said it earlier on, I made it, and I became world champion. But to have legacy, to have beyond something that carries you beyond that. Those are the greats that you look at in any sport, because they continue. They want to hold on to the title. They want to continue to improve, and then have a legacy be built from that standpoint. So, so with that said, going into 2020, I want to go through a quick optimizer tip. So this is our optimizing segment of the episode. So if you're planning for 2020, you've heard a little bit about kind of what are the differences between a goal and systems. So our advice is, going into the new year, depending how long you've been in business, really review and ask the reasons why, and literally get a sheet of paper and a pen and start to understand, okay, if I want to make $1 million in revenue, then that's a goal. But what are the systems that are going to carry me beyond $1 million? Can this company become a $500 million company? Can it become a $10 million? Whatever the case is. And if you start answering the questions yes, then it's further defining, okay, well, what do I want this company to actually be over the course of X amount of years? And what do I want to build this company to become? Once you start there, then you can have, you have the end in mind. I want it to become whatever, the greatest company on earth, whatever it is. If you look at Amazon and their mission statement, I think it's to become the most customer-centric company on earth. Think about that. So, and later on, they may change it to be, within our solar system. If they're looking to go to, Mars and Moon, who knows what's going to happen in, 500 years, 200 years, whatever the case is. But having that in mind, they didn't put their mission statement to be a goal of like, we want to make X amount of dollars. They said they want to be the most customer-centric. Well, times change, right? And the way we service a customer today will be very different than the way we service them tomorrow. And Amazon understands that. That's why they are who they are. So having that in mind, and as you build your business plan and you build your goals and all that, keep in mind the systems that need to be in place and how you're really banking on your systems to drive your business forward. If you have that in mind, then you're starting off on the right place, especially going into a new decade and into a new year. So with that said, I think we're coming close to wrapping up.
Yeah.
And any final comments?
I think the only other thing I would say, especially for businesses, is don't do this alone. Don't set your system alone. I mean, definitely as a leader of a company, you have to have in mind what that system looks like. But if your team isn't bought into that system and isn't bought into the vision for the company, you can't do it on your own.
Sure.
You have to have. So I think that's an important thing to note too, is that you don't even have to do this on your own.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that you lead your team to get there as well with you.
Yeah, it's good. Awesome.
So awesome. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode, and we will see you next time on Co-Founders. Ding. I want like an Orbitz, like the Orbitz commercial where your teeth like ding.
Can you guys edit that?
Can we do that?
Can you do that?
Ding.
Shine.
Yeah, a little shine.
Can we do that?
Shine. Yeah.